Now that we've created the transaction, we are ready to begin working with the documents that we need, the paperwork we need. You can see that Lone Wolf already pulled in the documents I would need for my buyer consultation. However, I may or may not have all the documents I need for my contract of sale. Your screen may look different depending on how yours is set up. So you may have just one document, you may have as many as I do. Either way, it's not going to be all of them. Every offer is different, and so for every offer, we'll need different documents. So my next step is to decide which documents I need to add to this transaction. And I'll do that using the checklist. To get to the checklist, you're going to go to the Life at KWCP website and click on the Resources tab. The password is growth with a capital G. You'll then scroll down to find the compliance and contracts section, and you'll see that there are different checklists for different counties. Uh, in Maryland, Montgomery County uses different documents than the rest of the counties do. So you only use Montgomery County if your client is purchasing in Montgomery County. We're going to do a PG County checklist. The one that says Maryland counties combined has many Maryland counties. So you would choose whichever is the appropriate checklist for your client. So I'm clicking on PG County, since that's where my client wants to buy. Okay. The top of the checklist says listing checklist. I would need these documents if I were doing a listing. The middle section is the buyer checklist. I would use these documents for a buyer consultation. And the bottom of this checklist is a sales contract checklist. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. One thing I want you to notice is that many of these documents are disclosures that will be provided by the seller. You won't need to do all these documents yourself, and you won't need all of them. For example, you'll see that there are documents for conventional VA and FHA financing. Your client is only using one of those or possibly none if they are a cash buyer. So what I'd like you to do when you're practicing or if you're writing an offer for one of the first times and you're still getting used to this, I would suggest you print this thing out so that you can write on it and see which documents you already have and which ones you need. Okay, so step one is getting the correct checklist. The next thing I'm going to need to do is go to Bright MLS and go to the property that my client wants to write an offer on. I've chosen a random property right now that's an active listing. The place where you can access the documents is above the photo. Above the photo of the property, there's this tiny icon, and when I hover over it, it says Bright Dash Documents. I'm clicking that, and when I click that, I'll see all of the documents that are uploaded for this property. In this case, it's just the disclosures. Clicking on it to open it, and it opens a PDF that has multiple signed documents. Many of these are documents that are on that checklist. I will then download this by clicking my download button. Okay. Now you want to name it disclosure so you know what it is and save it. Okay. And then I'll go back to Lone Wolf. So using my checklist, I will see which documents I might need for this transaction. For example, it says I need a Bright MLS full listing printout. Okay, that's just a PDF of the listing. I need residential contract of sale. Okay, and if I look at my transaction, residential contract of sale is already there. Okay, the next thing I need, it says disclosure and notice addendum for PG County, right? So that's, and I see other documents too that might be part of the disclosures. So next thing I would do is pull up your checklist like I have here, and then pull up the disclosures that you downloaded from Bright. And I'm going to look through this list and see which ones I already have. For example, I have disclosure of inclusions and exclusions. I have notice to buyer and seller. So I go back to my checklist. These are documents that are on here. And if you've printed it out, you can put a little check mark that you have it. For example, here's disclosure of inclusions and exclusions and notice of buyer's rights. Okay, so I go through that whole checklist. I see which ones I already have in there, and now I might need something else. For example, my client might be using, let's say, conventional financing. That document isn't in here yet because we don't know, it's just the client might be using any kind of financing. So I'll go to my Add Paperwork button, And for the form libraries, let's just start here. There are many libraries. The ones that you see might be different than the ones I see. So if you want to search for forms, you can just choose all libraries and look that way. If you happen to know which library it is in, you could also choose that. I happen to know that the conventional financing document is in the Maryland Real Estate, oops, sorry, wrong one, Maryland Association of Realtors file. But if you didn't know, you would just leave it on all libraries. A trick to searching is to never type more than one word. And in fact, oftentimes I only use a piece of a word. So I'm looking for conventional financing. So I'm going to type CONV. That's enough. That's just conventional. But look, I've got a few here and I don't really know which one is which. So that's why having a library selected really helps because then I can kind of narrow it down to know that I'm not adding one for an incorrect state. Okay, if I choose Maryland Association of Realtors, there's conventional financing addendum. I'm going to click the add button. And now that form has been added to my room. So let's see what it is. So here in this under contract section, I've got all those documents. The conventional financing one I downloaded is put in not filed. I'm just dragging that down to the under contract section. Okay, you can just drag any of these documents to whichever order you like. I can also reorder the documents in this room if I want to, just by dragging them. Once you've added all of the documents into your room, next we'll begin by filling them out. So I'm going to stop this video here, log in again and join the next video after you've added in all of the documents you need.